Have you ever heard of a place so eerie, so mysterious, that it's been dubbed China's #1 ghost village? A place where entire communities vanished overnight, leaving behind a ghost town shrouded in chilling legends. Today, we're venturing into the heart of this mystery, exploring the unsettling tale of Fengmen Village. Nestled deep in the mountains of Hunan Province, Fengmen Village, which translates to Sealed Gate Village, is a place frozen in time. The story goes that in 1981, all of its residents mysteriously disappeared, leaving their homes, furniture, and daily belongings behind, as if they just stepped out for a moment and never returned. The village was left to the mercy of nature, its stone houses slowly being reclaimed by creeping vines and overgrown weeds. So, what happened to the people of Fengmen Village? That's where the legends begin. One of the most popular theories revolves around a chilling local custom. It's said that in this village, the dead were not buried in the ground. Instead, they were placed in coffins and left inside their own homes, sometimes alongside the living. This practice, it's believed, blurred the lines between the world of the living and the world of the dead, creating a powerful negative energy, or yin-ki, that eventually consumed the village. Another prominent legend points to the village's strange layout. Fengmen Village was built following peculiar, almost inverse, feng shui principles. Most villages are built to welcome positive energy, but Fengmen seems designed to trap something sinister within its borders. Its name, Sealed Gate, adds to this ominous feeling. The main temple in the village also faces north, a direction traditionally associated with darkness and death in feng shui, which is highly unusual. Was the village a prison for something otherworldly? The most famous piece of evidence from Fengmen Village is a single ornate wooden chair. This isn't just any chair. Legend has it that it belonged to a wealthy village elder from the Qing dynasty. It's said that anyone who dares to sit in this chair will be cursed with misfortune, illness, or even worse. Many explorers and paranormal investigators who have visited the village have reported strange occurrences after coming near it. Compasses spin wildly, electronic devices fail without reason, and people experience sudden bouts of anxiety, confusion, or physical discomfort. These stories aren't just confined to local folklore. Over the years, numerous outdoor enthusiasts and adventurers have tried to unravel the secrets of Fengmen Village, and many have returned with unsettling tales of their own. Teams have reported getting lost on well-marked paths, hearing disembodied voices echoing through the empty streets, and seeing shadowy figures moving in the derelict houses. One group claimed they took a group photo, and when they looked at it later, there was an extra, terrifying face peering from the background that hadn't been there before. Another team spent the night and reported that their food inexplicably spoiled overnight, and some members woke up with strange scratches on their bodies. These incidents gained so much traction that they inspired the team leader, a veteran investigator named Li Wei, noted in his log that the silence itself felt unnatural, as if the entire village was holding its breath, waiting. They set up their base camp in what was once the village's central square, surrounded by decaying houses with hollow, dark windows that looked like vacant eyes. The initial readings were off the charts. EMF meters screamed. Thermal cameras picked up cold spots that moved with an unnerving purpose, and their audio recorders captured faint, whispering voices on the edge of hearing. At first, they were thrilled. This was the kind of evidence they lived for. But the excitement soon curdled into a growing sense of dread. The phenomena weren't random. They seemed intelligent, responsive. A knocking sound would echo from one house, only to be answered by another across the square. A shadow would flit across a doorway, just as a camera panned away. It felt like they were being watched, tested, and toyed with. The escalation was swift and terrifying. The subtle whispers grew into clear, distinct words in a dialect none of them recognized. The temperature inside their sealed tent plummeted, their breath turning to fog despite the mild night outside. Then came the first direct act of aggression. A heavy stone was hurled from the darkness, smashing one of their primary cameras. Panic began to set in. When they tried to call for an early extraction, they found all their communication devices were dead. No signal, no satellite connection, nothing. They were completely cut off from the outside world, trapped in a village that was waking up and turning against them. That night, the entity, or whatever it was, claimed its first victim. Guo Ren, the team's tech specialist, had been monitoring the perimeter sensors. The others heard a single choked gasp over the comms, then silence. They rushed outside to find his station in disarray. Equipment scattered. Guo Ren was gone. A frantic search began, their professional protocol dissolving into pure fear. They found him an hour later, inside one of the dilapidated houses, a house they had previously swept and declared clear. There were no signs of a struggle, no marks on his body. He was just stopped. His eyes were wide open, frozen in an expression of absolute soul-shattering terror. The coroner would later be unable to determine a cause of death. For the team, the message was clear. This wasn't just a haunting anymore. This was a hunt. With Guo Ren's death, the team's morale shattered. They were no longer investigators. They were prey. Li Wei made the call to barricade themselves inside the most defensible structure. They could find an old stone building that might have been a small temple. They blocked the doors and windows with whatever they could find. Old furniture, heavy rocks, their own equipment cases. They huddled together in the dark, armed with nothing but flashlights and their dwindling courage, listening. And that's when the siege began. It started with a single soft knock on the heavy wooden door. Knock. Pause. Knock. Then, another knock from the barricaded window on the opposite side of the room. Soon, the knocking was coming from all directions, a synchronized rhythmic tapping on every wall, every window, even the ceiling above them. It was a maddening, relentless drumming that seemed to vibrate right through their bones. The team's psychologist, Dr. Chun, tried to keep everyone calm, explaining it away as auditory pareidolia, their stressed minds creating patterns from random sounds. But then the voices started. Disembodied whispers slithered through the cracks in the walls, calling each of them by name. They weren't just random sounds. They were personal, intimate, and designed to break them. The entity whispered secrets only they could know, fears they had never spoken aloud. It mimicked the voices of their loved ones, a wife, a child, a deceased parent, begging them to open the door, to come outside. It was a masterclass in psychological warfare. Dr. Chun herself was the first to crack, sobbing uncontrollably as she heard her young daughter's voice calling for her from just beyond the barricade. The line between reality and hallucination blurred, and paranoia took root. They began looking at each other with suspicion. Was someone making these sounds? Was one of them compromised? The team was tearing itself apart from the inside. As dawn approached, the knocking and voices finally ceased, replaced by that same suffocating silence from the first night. Exhausted and on the verge of a collective breakdown, they dared to hope the worst was over. But the entity was merely changing its tactics. It had tested them, tormented them, and now it was ready to finish the game. When Li Wei cautiously peered through a crack in the barricade, his blood ran cold. During the night, while they were under siege, something had systematically sealed them in from the outside. Heavy logs and massive stones, far too large for any one person to move, had been piled against their doors and windows, creating a tomb. The chilling realization dawned on them. The knocking wasn't just to scare them, it was a distraction. While they were cowering inside, the entity was intelligently, methodically working to trap them completely. It had demonstrated planning, strategy, and immense physical power. It knew their fears, it knew their names, and now it had them in a cage. This wasn't a residual haunting, a mere echo of past events. This was a conscious, intelligent, and malevolent entity. And it wasn't done with them yet. The sun was rising, but for the remaining investigators trapped inside that stone prison in Fengmen village, the darkest night of their lives was just beginning. At 11:57 a.m., the ground shook. Not like an earthquake. Not like shifting soil. It felt directed, focused. Tiles rattled. Dust drifted from roofs. The investigators ran to the center square. It was a warning. Officer Zhao checked his radio. Dead. Dr. Li checked the emergency beacon. Offline. Lu Mei tried her satellite phone. Static. Every device capable of reaching the outside world had failed simultaneously. The team formed a tight perimeter in the open square. Then the temperature dropped, violently. Within seconds, the warm midday air became winter sharp. Their breath fogged. Frost appeared on the ground. At 12:03 p.m., the shadows changed. Walls cast long, unnatural silhouettes, bending, stretching, crawling across the ground like limbs. Lu Mei grabbed his arm. "Don't look at them too long," she whispered. But it was already too late for one of them. Investigator Dao stared too long at one of the shadows. His face went blank. He walked forward as if pulled by strings. Zhao shouted for him to stop. Dao whispered a sentence that froze every officer in the square. "She's calling me." He stepped directly into the shadow. His body dissolved into the darkness. Dao was gone. At 12:19 p.m., the investigators began hearing children laughing. The sound echoed lightly between the houses. Yao forced himself to remain steady. He motioned for the remaining officers to retreat into the old school building. The school's interior was cold, dim, and suffocatingly still. A single blackboard dominated the front wall, a faint sentence still visible on its surface from years ago. "Remember to be kind." As they barricaded themselves inside, the laughter outside faded. But something else began. Soft tapping from the roof, from the windows, from inside the walls. At 1:02 p.m., Liu Mei whispered, "Someone's in the hallway." Then the tapping stopped. And in that silence, a new sound emerged. A woman's voice, soft, calm, directly behind them. "Why did you come here?" Zhao spun, but no one stood there. The voice spoke again, this time whispering inches from Zhao's left ear. "This place is not yours." Before any of them could speak, the blackboard behind Li screeched loudly, chalk dragging itself across the surface. Words appeared in jagged, frantic lines. "Go back, go back." Then a final line appeared underneath the others. "He is below." Zhao asked, "Who is below?" The woman's voice answered, quieter than a breath. "The one you follow," Dr. Li screamed. "The father," he gasped. "The missing father from the story." Liu Mei's voice trembled. "If he's down there, we have to find him." "No," Zhao said firmly. "This is bait." From outside the school, the ground shook again. Heavier, closer. Then the laughter returned. Except this time, it wasn't children. It was men, women, dozens of voices. The school doors slammed open, by invitation. The village wanted them to follow the laughter. Officer Zhao tightened his jaw. "We move together," he said. But the rest of his sentence drowned beneath a third violent tremor. This one didn't feel like a warning. It felt like a countdown. The laughter outside the school wasn't playful anymore. It had become sharp, metallic, jagged, like knives dragged across slate. It layered over itself, echoing from every corner of the abandoned village. Officer Zhao's fingers tightened around the flashlight, and the others followed silently. There was no argument, no hesitation, only the unspoken understanding that staying put was death. The ground beneath their feet shifted again, but this time it wasn't tremors. It was an opening. Dust and rotten wood fell away to reveal a staircase leading down, carved beneath the oldest part of the school. No one had noticed it before, but now it yawned like a mouth, black and inviting. The smell of wet earth and decay rose up, making Dr. Lee gag. Lu Mei pressed a hand to her mouth, but the staircase called them all anyway. Zhao led the descent. The air grew colder with every step, frosting their breath. Shadows clung to the walls, crawling like living things. The voice of the woman, the one that had spoken before, whispered behind them, "You cannot turn back." The stairs ended in a cavernous space, vast enough that the flashlight barely penetrated the darkness. And there, at the center, they saw him, the father, or what remained of him. He was suspended in the middle of the room, arms outstretched like a crucifix, face pale and gaunt, lips moving silently. His eyes were open, wide with terror, yet fixed on nothing. Around him, shadows twisted and coiled, forming shapes of screaming children, screaming men, screaming women, the echoes of those who had vanished in the village over decades. They circled him like vultures, feeding on fear, growing taller, sharper, more defined with each second. The investigators froze. Then, the father spoke, a whisper that carried across the cavern. Sorry. The moment the words left him, the shadows lunged. Zhao shouted for the team to scatter, but escape was a concept long dead in Fengmen village. The shadows twisted around the investigators, separating them. Liu Mei found herself alone against a wall, shadows pressing in from all sides. Dr. Li fell to his knees, screaming, as dozens of ghostly faces pressed into his vision, whispering names of the dead, accusing, blaming, beckoning. Zhao charged forward toward the father, light shaking in his hand. He swung it, and the beam cut through the darkness, illuminating the father's eyes, wide with unending torment, reflecting the faces of the missing villagers. For a moment, Zhao thought he saw the father's lips move, forming words he couldn't hear, yet somehow understood. You cannot save them. The ceiling cracked. Dust and stone rained down. The cavern's walls trembled as if alive. Then the shadows coalesced into a single mass, a towering figure of darkness with multiple limbs and faces stitched together in screaming agony. Its gaze locked on Zhao. It was not just watching him. It knew him. It knew their fears, their guilt, their every thought. Zhao fired his flashlight at it. The figure flinched, then laughed, a hollow, echoing sound that made the investigators' knees buckle. He realized the laughter wasn't coming from outside anymore. It was inside their heads. Every doubt, every fear, every memory of pain amplified. He could feel it crawling under his skin, digging into his bones. Liu Mei screamed. Dr. Li moaned. Zhao's heart pounded as he realized the truth. The village didn't just trap them physically. It trapped them mentally, spiritually, emotionally. It fed on despair. It lived on attention, on fear, on their very presence. The father wasn't alive. He was a vessel. And every vessel that had entered this village before them had become part of the same eternal web. Then something unexpected happened. A small beam of sunlight broke through a crack in the ceiling. It touched the father's face. The shadows recoiled. The figure shrieked, a sound so loud it shattered the air. Zhao seized the moment. He grabbed the father, fragile, still human in some way, and pulled him down the hallway leading to the staircase. The shadows surged, clawing at them, shrieking, whispering, promising eternal torment. Liu Mei followed with Dr. Li, dragging the unconscious Dao's journal along. Pages fluttered violently, revealing scribbles that burned with malevolent intelligence. Leave now, or stay forever. Every step upward was a battle. Every creak of the staircase was amplified. Shadows lunged, fingers scraping walls, whispering in voices they knew too well. Voices of dead colleagues, neighbors, children. Every ounce of willpower had to be summoned just to keep moving. Zhao realized their only weapon was refusal to give in to fear. the village could only consume those who allowed it. Finally, they emerged into daylight. The staircase collapsed behind them with a sound like 1,000 screams. The village appeared normal, peaceful. Sunlight glinted off empty rooftops. No signs of shadows, no footprints, no tremors. It was as if nothing had happened. Yet the air carried weight, a subtle, chilling reminder that Fengmen village had claimed something of them all, even if it couldn't touch them in the open. The father slumped to the ground, alive but hollowed. His eyes held stories he could not speak, memories of things that defied logic, moments that would haunt anyone for a lifetime. Liu Mei clutched the journal to her chest, trembling. Dr. Li sat cross-legged, whispering fragments of prayers. Zhao looked back at the village once, then twice. They left. The survivors never returned. They reported everything in detail, but their testimony was met with skepticism. No official documentation of supernatural phenomena was accepted. Experts dismissed the story as mass hysteria or hallucination. But the truth, known only to those who had stepped into the heart of Fengmen village, was darker. The village had a memory, a hunger, a consciousness, and it waited. Years later, those who survived reported nightmares, children laughing in empty rooms, shadows twisting in corners, voices calling their names when no one was near. Some refused to walk past abandoned houses. Others never slept without lights on. Every one of them carried a piece of Fengmen village, a permanent scar in the mind, a warning to the curious, the brave, and the foolish. And Fengmen village remained, quiet, sunlit, empty, waiting, but never still. Because somewhere beneath its foundations, the missing, the lost, and the damned were gathered, watching, learning, and one day they would call again.